Have you ever felt like you are the only one paying attention to the details?
Oh yeah, like you're the only sane person in the room.
Right. Imagine you are the solitary person taking your job seriously in a place that practically runs on gossip, ancient grudges, and, well, IOUs.
It sounds incredibly frustrating.
It really is. You're trying to keep the book straight, and everyone around you is perfectly happy just writing things down on mental napkins.
It's a uniquely isolating experience. I mean, you are desperately waving a spreadsheet around, trying to bring order to chaos, and everyone else is just, floating along with the current.
And that profound isolation is, like, at the very heart of today's deep dive. We're exploring a recently published compilation from November 2026. It's titled Inspector Dragan's Case Files.
Yeah, these are the meticulous, absolutely obsessive 11-year records spanning from 2015 to 2026 of a man named Dragan Petrović.
Right. And he serves as the self-appointed village inspector of Gornja Magla. For context, this is a very foggy, intensely isolated Serbian village with a population of exactly 143 people.
And his salary for this vital community service, a grand total of 15,000 dinars a month.
Wait, how much is that?
It translates to roughly 140 US dollars.
Oh, wow. That barely covers the ink for his pens.
Exactly. But our mission today is to explore how this one man's relentless documentation of just mundane, everyday rural disputes accidentally uncovered a mind-bending, scientifically unprecedented interspecies phenomenon.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we get to the anomaly itself, we really have to understand the environment that allowed it to be discovered, right?
Yeah, there is a massive friction between Dragan and the village of Gornja Magla. We are basically looking at a clash between rigid, uncompromising documentation on Dragan's side and a deeply informal, almost fluid community culture on the other.
This village operates on a completely different wavelength than the rest of the modern world. Take one of his early files from 2015, the case of the disappearing Rakija.
Ah, yes, the Rakija case.
For those unfamiliar, Rakija is the local homemade plum brandy. It's basically the social lubricant of the entire region. So 200 liters of this communal alcohol go missing from the cooperative storage.
200 liters, that's a lot.
Yeah. And Dragan wants to treat this like a major bank heist. He is taking floor samples, he's measuring barrels with a tape measure, trying to establish a chain of custody.
And the village elder, Uncle Dragomir, essentially laughs in his face.
He does.
He tells Dragan, quote, Rakija flows to where thirst is.
It sounds like a proverb, but he's using it as a literal legal defense.
Right, but it perfectly encapsulates the village mindset. To the community, it isn't theft at all. It is informal sharing. Someone had a wedding, someone else had a patron saint day, so they took some plum brandy.
Right.
In their minds, it all balances out over a decade. They don't need inventory logs because they rely on this complex web of mutual trust and obligation.
And Dragan's brain practically short-circuits at that logic. You see the same frustration in a file from 1992 called the fence dispute.
Oh, the fence dispute is classic.
It's over a 1.5-meter boundary near an old walnut tree, and the argument flares up again in 2015. So Dragan marches out there with precise GPS coordinates.
Naturally.
He digs through the archives and presents 7 contradictory maps from different political eras of Yugoslavia and Serbia. He lays out the objective facts. And the village's response?
They ignore him.
Completely. They refuse to hire a surveyor. They basically sit back and let the two families scream at each other until they are exhausted.
Which, interestingly enough, is a recognized form of rural conflict resolution. I mean, it's entirely free, and eventually the anger just burns itself out and the families go back to ignoring each other.
Reading this, I kept picturing Dragan as like a human blockchain trying to operate in a village that runs entirely on IOUs. But I have to push back here.
Sure could.
Isn't Dragan just wasting his time? The village clearly doesn't want his help. They actively mock him. So why does he keep writing these 23-page reports that literally nobody reads?
Because for Dragan, documentation has an intrinsic, almost moral value. By recording everything objectively, he becomes the institutional memory of a village that relies heavily on what anthropologists call strategic forgetting.
Strategic forgetting? What does that mean?
Well, think about your own family group chat. If everyone remembered every single slight, every ignored text, or every borrowed $20 forever, you would never be able to sit down for a Thanksgiving dinner together again.
Oh, yeah, that's true. The social fabric would just tear.
Exactly. People need to let things slide to live together in close quarters. But Dragan believes that objective truth matters more than comfort. His absolute dedication to recording reality exactly as it is, no matter how trivial it seems, is the foundation that allowed him to spot something impossible.
Because you can't spot an anomaly if you don't have a baseline.
Precisely.
That makes a lot of sense. Because it's in the margins of these early files, the missing plum brandy, the screaming matches over the fence, that Dragan starts noting a weird detail. He records the repeated presence of 3 specific chickens at the sites of these arguments.
Right, and this is the pivot point. His isolated, mocked frustration is about to transform into objective academic validation.
Yeah, let's look at how this escalated during the 2019 Mysterious Potatoes case. The cooperative realizes they are missing 780 kilograms of communal potatoes.
That's a massive amount of food to just lose.
Exactly. And naturally, everyone starts accusing everyone else of stealing them. So Dragan steps in, realizes nobody actually weighed the initial harvest before storing it, and he mathematically solves the dispute.
He takes the remaining 1,620 kilograms and divides it equally among the 23 contributing families.
Right, exactly 70.4 kilograms per family. He averts a crisis. But while he's at the storage facility, he spots them again, the same 3 chickens.
And he takes them so seriously he even names them in his files: Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. Alpha is a brown hen with a distinctive white tail. Beta is a red hen with a slight limp. And Gamma is speckled gray.
And these birds aren't just, pecking around in the dirt. According to his notes, they're standing in a perfect equilateral triangle, exactly 4 to 5 meters apart.
It's so bizarre.
And when the human argument dies down and it's time to leave, Alpha makes a specific, sharp vocal signal, and they all depart in complete, synchronized coordination.
At this point, Dragan is no longer the only one noticing this. The compilation introduces us to Dr. Sarah Mitchell-Jones and Dr. James Keating, 2 British anthropologists who originally came to study post-socialist governance in the village.
Yeah, they came for the agriculture, and they ended up staying for the poultry.
Exactly. They confirm that they have been tracking these exact same 3 chickens too. Dr. Keating runs the numbers. In a village that has a free-roaming population of roughly 60 chickens, the probability of these specific 3 birds appearing together at 17 different village conflict events by pure chance is 0.0008%.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Put yourself in Dragan's shoes for a second. You've been the village joke for years, and suddenly 2 academics with PhDs tell you, no, you aren't crazy, the math proves you're right.
It must have been incredibly validating for him.
Oh, for sure. But I have to play devil's advocate for the listener here. Could this just be confirmation bias? Are the chickens just showing up because human arguments usually happen near food sources?
Like where?
Like, they argue at the cooperative where the potatoes are, or near the compost pile where the fence is. Isn't that just basic foraging behavior?
It is the most logical assumption, and honestly, it is exactly what the anthropologists tried to rule out first. But the data proves it is much more than foraging.
Really?
Yeah, it comes down to advanced pattern recognition. These chickens aren't keeping their heads down, pecking at bugs. They're maintaining specific, measurable geometric formations, which requires constant visual checking of each other's positions.
Wow.
Furthermore, the anthropologists took biological readings. The chickens are reacting to community stress levels, specifically the spikes in human voices and elevated cortisol in the air-not food availability.
So they're effectively monitoring the humans. But the jump from passive observation, chickens standing around watching people argue, to active, inexplicable cross-species coordination is wild. And that jump happens in the Midnight Bell case.
Yes, this is where the phenomenon escalates from a curiosity into a straight-up scientific impossibility.
Yeah.
In November 2020, the village church bell begins to ring at precisely 3:00 a.m.
And it does this for 14 consecutive nights. The whole village is sleep-deprived, terrified, and totally convinced it's a ghost.
Understandably.
Right. So Dragan inspects the electronic timer, the ropes, the gears. Everything is perfectly normal. So he and the anthropologists decide to stake out the tower using thermal cameras. And what they capture is straight out of a movie. I'm talking an interspecies heist movie like Ocean's 11, but with poultry and nocturnal predators.
What's fascinating here is the sheer physics of what they capture on thermal imaging. Inside the bell tower, they find 3 little owls, the species Athenoxua.
Wait, owls? Like tiny little birds?
Exactly. These are highly intelligent cavity-nesting birds, but they are tiny. A single owl weighs less than 200 grams, which is mathematically not enough to move a 200-kilogram bronze bell.
Oh, right. That makes no sense.
But the 3 owls coordinate their movements to manipulate pendulum resonance.
Pendulum resonance.
Yeah. Think of pushing a child on a playground swing. You don't need to be strong enough to lift the child. You just need to apply a small amount of force at the exact right moment in the swing's arc to build momentum.
Oh, I see.
So the owls jump onto the heavy bell rope and then simultaneously push off downward. They're combining their body weight and the kinetic force of their launch, timing it perfectly to the natural sway of the rope to create just enough momentum to start the heavy clapper swinging inside the bell.
That requires an understanding of rhythm and physics that is just mind-blowing. But the craziest part isn't the owls, it's the chickens. While the owls are inside running this synchronized physics experiment, Alpha, Beta, and Gamma are waiting outside in the churchyard. They arrive exactly 15 minutes before the bell rings, take up their geometric positions, and just wait for the sound.
And the researchers proved the chickens were anticipating the bell because of what happens next. Dragan decides to test the system. He puts wire mesh over the tower windows.
To keep the owls out.
Exactly. That night, the owls try to get in, they hit the mesh, they fail, and the bell stays completely silent. But the chickens still show up. They stand in formation in the freezing dark, waiting for a bell that never rings, before finally leaving 20 minutes later.
They were entirely synced up with the owl's schedule.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is, well, if we look at the timeline synchronization between two entirely different species, you have precise physical coordination by the owls to manipulate a massive human mechanical device. And you have the chickens demonstrating predictive cognitive behavior.
Right. They possessed an internal mental model of an event that had not yet happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This completely shatters traditional ornithological models.
It totally rewrites the rule book.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop at pulling bizarre, ghostly stunts at 3 a.m. The narrative takes this massive emotional turn. We move from these weird, slightly creepy anomalies to active moral guardianship. The chickens start saving human lives.
They do, and this brings us to the vanishing firewood case from January 2021. The temperatures in the village drop to a brutal negative 12 degrees Celsius, and firewood starts disappearing from several homes.
And in the middle of a rural Balkan winter, a lack of firewood isn't just an inconvenience, it is a literal survival issue. People can freeze to death.
Absolutely. The village is practically ready to go to war over this. Everyone suspects their neighbor. So Dragan flips his strategy. Instead of freezing outside watching the wood piles, he tracks the chickens, using them as a living alarm system.
That's brilliant.
It is. At 2:47 a.m., the thermal cameras catch the chickens moving purposefully. Dragan follows them, and they lead him straight to the thief in the act.
But the thief isn't a malicious neighbor holding a grudge. It is an 11-year-old boy named Stefan from the rival village downhill, Gornja Magla. He is hauling stolen wood on a small sled in the dead of night to keep his sick grandfather from freezing to death.
It's incredibly heartbreaking.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the village's reaction completely shifts the tone of the entire 11-year saga. Remember, this is a village that lets families scream over fences for decades. But when they see this freezing child, the community comes together with incredible compassion.
They don't even call the police.
Nope. Instead of calling the police, they donate 4.5 cubic meters of wood, hot food, and medical supplies to Stefan and his grandfather.
And this wasn't a one-off rescue for the chickens either. We see them repeatedly intervene.
Right. Like later that year, they lead human searchers 847 meters through a dense forest to find a lost 6-year-old girl who had wandered off.
Yeah, and during the winter warning, they physically blockade the front doors of 7 different elderly residents to alert the village to deadly invisible carbon monoxide leaks and frayed electrical hazards.
They essentially force the humans to pay attention to invisible dangers that the humans were too distracted to notice. It makes you wonder, how often do we completely miss the critical signals our own environment is sending us just because we think we're the smartest ones in the room?
That's a great point.
But I have to ask, why are they doing this? Chickens aren't exactly known for their empathy.
This raises an important question, and it is exactly what Dr. Sarah tackles in her published paper on emergent collective intelligence. When she analyzes this behavior, she emphasizes that we must look at it scientifically. The chickens aren't supernatural. They aren't magical spirits.
Okay, good to clarify.
They have culturally evolved to protect the village through a highly advanced symbiotic relationship.
Can you break that down for us? How does a chicken decide to become a firefighter?
Well, think about a murmuration of starlings or a colony of ants solving a complex maze. There is no mastermind ant directing traffic. The intelligence emerges from the group interacting with their environment.
Okay, I follow.
The chickens recognize that a safe, stable human village means a safe, stable environment for them. It means predators are kept away and grain is plentiful. They're treating the humans the way a farmer treats a valuable tractor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're maintaining their vital infrastructure. They've learned to interpret human stress and environmental hazards And incredibly, they pass this survival knowledge down to the next generation.
Speaking of passing it down, the story reaches its absolute peak when we see this avian civilization master not just physical safety, but abstract human culture.
The shift from hazard detection to cultural preservation is something biologists have never documented before. By Easter of 2021, the organized group has grown to 15 chickens. Alpha has actively trained the younger generation.
And what they do next is just breathtaking. The night before Good Friday, they steal 47 painted Easter eggs from various households.
Right.
They carry them to the church courtyard and they arrange them in a mathematically perfect circle. And the next night they step it up. They arrange 63 eggs into a perfect Orthodox cross.
The spatial awareness required for this is immense. Birds have eyes on the sides of their heads, meaning they have monocular vision. To judge distance, they have to constantly bob their heads to create parallax.
Right.
Imagine the cognitive load of doing that while gently pushing fragile eggs with your beak, communicating with 14 other birds, and maintaining perfect geometric spacing. It requires staggering collective intelligence.
And just when you think it can't get any wilder, we reach August 2026. The incident with the wedding bread, the chickens surround a ceremonial wedding bread that has been set out. Dragan rushes over and tries to shoo them away, assuming they're just hungry and trying to eat it.
But an 89-year-old grandmother steps in and stops him. She reveals a piece of history the rest of the village had lost. She explains that this is an ancient pre-war tradition.
Pre-war tradition.
Yeah. Long before modern times, it was considered a vital blessing if the local chickens came and tested the bread to approve the marriage. The humans had completely forgotten this ritual over the decades of war and modernization, but the chickens remembered it.
They remembered a human cultural ritual that the humans themselves had discarded.
It is literally cultural transmission across species boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
The village is so deeply moved by all of this, the rescues, the Easter eggs, the wedding blessing, that they hold a formal council meeting.
And they actually pass a resolution. They designated these 23 organized chickens, which now span 3 distinct generations, as protected community members and village guardians.
It's a beautiful ending to a bizarre saga.
So what does this all mean? We started with a woefully underpaid guy measuring fences and counting missing potatoes, and we end up with officially recognized avian guardians shaping human culture.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it proves that Inspector Dragan's meticulous, thankless, obsessive documentation for 11 years wasn't a waste of time. He didn't invent this phenomenon. His objective records merely unveiled a parallel culture that was there all along, operating right under everyone's boots. He forced the scientific world to see what happens when you refuse to ignore the mundane details. This is the first documented case of a non-human civilization integrating with a human settlement as equals.
And that is the ultimate takeaway for you, the listener. Think about Dragan's entire career. The lesson is that attention is never wasted. Whether you're dealing with a frustrating spreadsheet at work, a bizarre family dispute, or just the mundane routines of your neighborhood, documenting the truth and observing the world with a genuinely open mind can reveal absolute magic hidden in plain sight.
It challenges our entire hierarchy of intelligence on this planet. We arrogantly assume we are the only actors shaping our communities. This case file proves we are sharing the stage.
So I want to leave you with the thought to mull over today. Go back to that feeling we talked about at the very beginning, feeling like you're the only one paying attention to the details. If a highly organized, culturally advanced interspecies surveillance and guardianship network could evolve in a tiny, foggy Serbian village simply because one single person finally paid enough attention to notice it, what incredible paradigm-shifting phenomena are happening right now in your own backyard, completely ignored just because you assume they are just animals?